The road to the capital was quiet that morning, the kind of quiet that made every sound feel louder than it should. The traveler walked at a steady pace, boots pressing into the dusty ground, eyes moving between the road ahead and the tree line on both sides. He had learned long ago that danger rarely announced itself. It waited, it listened. It chose its moment. He was not a hero. He did not carry banners or wear fine armor. His clothes were clean but plain, his pack light, his sword more a tool than a symbol. Like many others, he was headed to the capital for work, for answers, or maybe just because it felt better than standing still. He did not expect this journey to be any different from the others he had taken. Then he heard it. At first, it sounded like the wind moving through broken branches. He almost ignored it. But the sound came again, sharper this time. A soft cry quickly cut off, as if the person who made it feared being heard. He stopped walking. The road stretched ahead, empty. Behind him, the same. Slowly, he turned toward the trees on his right. The forest there was thin, young trees growing too close together, their shadows crossing like dark lines on the ground. He listened again. Nothing. Most people would have continued walking. Beast folk were known to travel these lands, but meeting one alone was risky. Some were dangerous, some were desperate. And desperate people often caused trouble, even when they did not mean to. Still, something about the sound stayed with him. He stepped off the road. The ground dipped slightly as he moved between the trees. After a few steps, he saw a broken cart tilted on its side. One wheel was cracked. Cloth sacks lay torn open nearby, their contents spilled and scattered. It looked like the cart had been there for hours, maybe longer. Then he saw her. She was crouched behind the cart, trying to make herself small. Fox ears pressed flat against her head. A thick tail curled tight around her legs as if it could protect her. Her clothes were worn and dirty, one sleeve torn at the shoulder. Dark red blood soaked into the fabric near her thigh. She held her leg with both hands, trembling. When she noticed him, her eyes widened in fear. She did not scream. She did not run. She froze. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said quickly, keeping his voice calm. He raised his hands and took a step back to give her space. "I heard something and came to look." She stared at him, breathing fast, eyes darting to his sword, and then back to his face. Her grip tightened on her leg. "Please," she whispered. The word came out broken, like she had not used her voice much lately. "Don't tell anyone." That single sentence told him more than a long story could have. Beast folk were allowed in the kingdom, but the truth was not as simple as the law. Many people feared them. Some hated them. Others saw them as easy targets. A lone foxwoman on the road was not safe. An injured one even less so. He looked around again, checking the road through the trees. No one else was nearby. "What happened?" he asked. She hesitated. Then she shook her head slightly. "Cart broke," she said. "I fell. I tried to fix it. I can't walk far." Her speech was careful, as if she chose each word slowly. When she moved her leg a little, her face twisted in pain. He knelt a few steps away, close enough to see the wound clearly, but far enough not to scare her. The injury was bad but not deadly. She would not walk on it today. "If I leave you here," he said, speaking more to himself than to her, "someone else will find you." Her ears twitched. Her eyes dropped to the ground. That decided it. He sighed quietly. "All right," he said. "I'll help." She looked up at him in disbelief. "Why?" He paused. The honest answer was simple and uncomfortable. "Because leaving you feels wrong," he said. "And because I don't want to spend the rest of the road thinking about what would happen to you." That seemed to confuse her more than comfort her, but she nodded. He unpacked his bag and took out clean cloth and water. When he moved closer, she flinched, then forced herself to stay still. Her hands shook as she let him clean the wound. He worked carefully, saying nothing, letting silence do the work of trust. "You're heading to the capital?" he asked after a while. She nodded. "I was," she said. "I thought maybe there would be work, or at least safety." He tied the cloth firmly around her leg. "The capital isn't as kind as people think," he said, "but it's better than this road." She gave a small, sad smile. The cart was beyond fixing. He checked it anyway, pushing at the wheel, testing the frame. The damage was too much. He returned to her and sat back on his heels. "I can help you walk," he said, slowly. "Or I can set up a small camp here and stay until you can move." Her eyes widened again. "You'd stay?" He shrugged. "It's safer than leaving you alone." She looked at the road, then at the forest, then back at him. "I don't want to be alone," she said softly. That, too, decided things. He helped her stand. She leaned heavily on him, lighter than he expected. Each step made her wince, but she did not complain. They moved only a short distance before stopping near a small clearing. He built a simple shelter and lit a small fire, keeping it low so it would not be seen from the road. She sat close to the warmth, tail wrapped around her feet. For a long time, neither of them spoke. "My name is Lyra," she said finally, almost too quiet to hear. He nodded. "I'm called Rowan." She repeated his name once, as if testing it. Then she fell silent again. As night came, the forest filled with sound. Insects, distant animals, the creak of trees. Rowan stayed awake longer than usual, watching the road, listening for footsteps. Lyra slept lightly, waking at every noise. He realized then that saving her had not been a single choice. It was many choices, one after another. Staying, sharing food, standing watch, accepting responsibility he had not planned for, and somewhere between the broken cart and the quiet fire, the road he thought he was walking had already changed. Morning came slowly through the trees, pale light slipping between branches and touching the ground in soft patches. Rowan woke before the sun fully rose. Years of traveling had trained his body to do that. He sat up quietly and looked toward the small shelter they had made the night before. Liara was awake too. She sat with her back against a tree, knees pulled close to her chest. Tail wrapped around her legs the same way it had been the night before. Her ears twitched when Rowan moved, but she did not look afraid this time. Just careful. "You didn't sleep much," Rowan said. She shook her head. "I'm used to listening," she replied. "It's safer." Rowan nodded. He understood that more than he wanted to admit. He checked her leg again. The cloth was still clean, and the swelling had not grown worse. That was a good sign, but it did not mean she could walk far. "We'll move slowly today," he said. "No rushing." "Yes," she hesitated. "You don't have to wait for me," she said. "I'll manage." Rowan gave a small smile. "You won't," he said gently. "And that's all right." They ate a simple breakfast of bread and dried fruit. Lyra ate carefully, as if unsure she was allowed to take too much. Rowan noticed and pushed the food closer to her, without saying anything. After a moment, she accepted it. When they stepped back onto the road, the difference was clear. Yesterday, Rowan had been a traveler with a destination. Today, he was something else. Every step was measured to match Lyra's pace. Every sound made him glance around. She leaned on a simple walking stick Rowan had cut for her. Even with it, she struggled. Her steps were uneven, and she stopped often to catch her breath. "I'm slowing you down," she said after the third stop. "You're not," Rowan replied. "I just wasn't in as much of a hurry as I thought." She studied his face, searching for something. When she didn't find it, she looked away. They passed a merchant wagon heading toward the capital. The driver looked at them, eyes lingering on Lyra's ears and tail. His expression tightened. He said nothing, but the way he urged his horse forward spoke clearly enough. Lyra shrank closer to Rowan without thinking. Rowan noticed. He said nothing, but he adjusted his position slightly, placing himself between her and the road. As the day went on, small things began to surface. Lyra jumped at sudden noises. She avoided eye contact with anyone they passed. When Rowan asked simple questions, she answered briefly, never offering more than necessary. But she noticed things too. She pointed out a safer path when the road narrowed. She warned him of loose ground before he stepped on it. Once she stopped him suddenly, her hand gripping his sleeve. "Don't move," she whispered. A moment later, a group of riders passed at speed, eyes forward, dust rising behind them. If Rowan had stepped out, he would have been knocked aside. "You watch everything," he said. She gave a small shrug. If you don't, you get hurt. By midday, they reached a shallow stream. Rowan helped Lyra sit on a smooth rock while he refilled their water skins. She watched him closely, as if afraid he might walk away. He noticed that too. "I'll be right here," he said, handing her the water. Her ears flicked. "I know," she said. But her grip on the skin was tight. They rested longer than Rowan usually would. Lyra washed her hands carefully, rubbing them as if trying to scrub away something unseen. The skin on her palms was rough and scarred, not from work alone, but from something harsher. Rowan did not ask. That evening, they reached a small roadside inn. It was old, with a leaning sign and uneven stone walls. Light spilled from the windows, and the smell of cooked food drifted into the road. Lyra stopped walking. "I can wait outside," she said quickly. Rowan turned to her. "Why?" she swallowed. "They won't want me inside." Rowan looked at the inn, then back at her. "They serve travelers," he said. "You are one." Her shoulders tensed. "Not like you." He considered his words carefully. "You're with me," he said. "That's enough." They stepped inside together. Conversation dipped for a moment as people noticed Lyra. Some stared openly. Others looked away too fast. The innkeeper hesitated when Rowan asked for a room. "One room," Rowan said calmly. "2 beds." The innkeeper nodded after a moment and named the price. Rowan paid without complaint. Lyra stayed close, her tail tucked tight. When they reached the room, she let out a breath she seemed to have been holding all evening. "I'm sorry," she said suddenly. "For causing trouble?" Rowan shook his head. "You didn't." She sat on the edge of the bed, hands folded, eyes fixed on the floor. "I try to be small," she said. "It makes things easier." Rowan leaned against the wall. "It also makes people forget you're there," he said. She looked up at him then, something uncertain passing through her eyes. That night, Rowan slept lightly. Voices from the common room drifted through the walls. Lyra lay awake for a long time before finally sleeping. As Rowan watched the door, he realized something important. This journey was no longer about reaching the capital. It was about learning how to move forward together, one careful step at a time. The next morning, the inn was already busy when Rowan woke. He could hear footsteps in the hallway, soft voices, the scrape of chairs being moved downstairs. For a moment, he stayed still, listening. Travel had taught him to measure a place before stepping into it. When he turned his head, he saw that Lyra was awake too. She sat upright in her bed, hands folded in her lap, ears alert. She looked calmer than she had the day before. But there was still a careful distance in her eyes, as if she was always ready to pull back. "Did you sleep?" Rowan asked. "A little," she said. "More than usual." Took that as a good sign. They went downstairs together. The innkeeper greeted Rowan with a short nod but barely looked at Lyra. That was almost worse than staring. Rowan ordered food for both of them without asking. When the plates arrived, Lyra hesitated before touching hers. "You can eat," Rowan said. "No one's counting." She gave a small smile and picked up her spoon. As they ate, Rowan noticed something else. Lyra kept glancing toward the door whenever someone new came in. Not curious glances. Measured ones. She was checking size, posture, tone of voice. She was judging risk. "You've traveled before," Rowan said quietly. She paused. "Not like you. But you know roads," he replied, "and people." She looked down at her food. "You learn quickly when you have to." They left the inn mid-morning. The road ahead climbed gently, winding through low hills dotted with stone markers and old trees. Lyra's leg was better, but she still leaned on the walking stick. Rowan matched her pace without complaint. After an hour, they reached a quiet stretch where the road narrowed and the wind carried sound far. Rowan noticed Lyra growing more tense. Her ears angled backward. Her steps slowed. "What is it?" he asked. She hesitated, then said, "There's a village ahead." "Small one," good Rowan said. "We can rest." Her grip tightened on the stick. "Not all villages are the same." Rowan studied her face. "Have you been there before?" She nodded once. "A long time ago." They continued, but Rowan stayed alert. When the village came into view, it looked peaceful enough. A few stone houses, a well, children playing near the road. Smoke rose from chimneys. Still, Leora stopped walking. "I don't want to go in," she said. Rowan didn't argue. "We can go around," he said. "It'll take longer, but that's fine." She looked surprised. "You don't need to avoid it for me." "I'm not avoiding it," he replied. "I'm choosing a different path." They turned off the road and followed a narrow trail through tall grass. It was quiet there. Too quiet. Rowan kept one hand near his sword. Halfway around the village, Leora spoke again. "I used to think the capital would fix everything," she said suddenly. Rowan glanced at her but let her continue. "I thought laws would protect me, that people would be fair because they had to be." She gave a short, humorless laugh. "I was wrong." They stopped near a fallen tree. Rowan sat on it and offered her a place beside him. After a moment, she accepted. "I worked where I could," she went on. "Cleaning, carrying things, anything. Most people didn't look at me. Some did. Not kindly." Rowan said nothing. He didn't need to fill the silence. One day she said, "I realized I was more tired than afraid. That scared me more than anything." She looked at her hands again, turning them slowly. "I left before I forgot how to care." Rowan understood then. This wasn't just a story. It was something she carried every day. "That's why you were going back?" He asked. "To the capital?" She shook her head. "No, I was going past it. I just needed the road." They resumed walking. The path rejoined the main road farther ahead. Lyra seemed lighter after speaking, as if sharing the weight had made it easier to carry. That afternoon, they encountered trouble. A group of men stood near the road, arguing loudly. Their clothes were rough, their faces tired and sharp at the same time. When they noticed Rowan and Lyra, the noise quieted. Rowan felt Lyra tense beside him. One of the men stepped forward. "Where you headed?" he asked. Rowan kept his voice calm. "Same way as you." The man's eyes flicked to Lyra's ears. "Didn't know you traveled with beasts." Rowan took a slow breath. "She's a person." The man smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Didn't say she wasn't." Lyra's fingers curled into Rowan's sleeve. "Just slightly." Rowan shifted his stance. "We're not looking for trouble." The man studied him for a long moment. Then he stepped back. "Neither are we," he said. "Move along." He didn't stop walking until the men were far behind them. Lyra's breathing was shallow. Rowan stopped and faced her. "You all right?" She nodded, though her hands were still shaking. "Thank you," she said, "for not leaving." Rowan frowned slightly. "I wasn't going to." She looked at him, truly looked at him as if testing that promise. Whatever she saw seemed to settle something inside her. They camped early that night near a stand of trees. Rohan gathered wood while Lyra prepared the food. She moved more confidently now, asking where things were, making choices without waiting for approval. As the fire burned low, she spoke again. "I don't think I'm weak," she said quietly. "I just learned to survive quietly." Rohan nodded. "That takes strength." She smiled then. It was small, but real. The stars came out one by one. The road behind them faded into darkness, and the road ahead waited, unseen. For the first time, Leora did not wrap her tail so tightly around herself. And for the first time, Rowan felt certain that this journey was shaping them both in ways neither had expected. The land began to change as they moved closer to the heart of the kingdom. The road grew wider, better cared for, but also busier. More travelers passed them now. Merchants, messengers, guards, families heading toward towns. With more people came more eyes, and not all of them were kind. Rowan noticed it first in small ways. Conversation stopped when they approached. Faces turned, then quickly looked away. Some people whispered. Others stared too long. Lyra felt it even more. She walked with her head lowered again, ears angled back, tail kept close. The confidence she had begun to show did not disappear, but it dimmed, like a flame in strong wind. At a checkpoint near a river crossing, 2 guards stopped them. "Papers," one said, his gaze fixed on Rowan. Rowan handed over his travel pass. The guard checked it, then looked at Lyra, And her? The guard asked. She's traveling with me, Rowan replied evenly. The second guard stepped closer, circling slightly. Beast folk need permits in some regions. Waste way, waste wade ways, waste ways, wade wades. Wade wade. Wade wade, wade wade, wade wade. Wade wade, wade, wade. Wade wade, wade, wade wade, wade wade, wade wade wade, wade wade, wade wade wade, wade wade wade, wade and wades and wade 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 adds I got. This region doesn't require one. The guard frowned, clearly disappointed. After a long pause, he waved them through. As they walked away, Lara's steps were stiff. You didn't have to argue, she said quietly. Rowan looked at her. Yes, I did. They crossed the bridge and continued on. Lyra did not speak again for a long while. That evening, they stopped near a farming settlement. Rowan suggested staying the night, but Lyra shook her head. Too many people, she said. I'd rather sleep outside. Rowan considered it, then agreed. They found a spot near the fields where the land dipped slightly, hidden from the road. Rowan set up camp while Lyra gathered dry grass for bedding. She worked silently, but with purpose. When Rowan asked if her leg hurt, she answered honestly. When she needed help, she asked. These small changes mattered more than big words. Later, as they ate, Rowan noticed Lyra watching a distant farmhouse. Light glowed warmly through its windows. Do you miss having a place like that? He asked. She thought for a moment. I don't miss the walls, she said. I miss feeling welcome. Rowan nodded. He understood that too. The next day brought rain. Not a storm, but a steady, soaking rain that made the road slick and heavy. Lyra slipped once and nearly fell. Rowan caught her arm before she hit the ground. Thank you, she said, breathless. He didn't let go right away. We should slow down, he said. She frowned. We're already slow. And that's fine, he replied. They found shelter under an old stone overhang used by travelers long ago. The rain drummed against the rocks while they waited. Lyra wrung water from her sleeves, tail damp and heavy. I hate feeling like a burden, she said suddenly. Rowan looked at her. Why? Because people leave burdens behind, she answered. Rowan leaned back against the stone. People leave for many reasons, he said. Not all of them are because of weight. She was quiet after that, thinking. That afternoon, they reached a crossroads marked by a tall stone pillar. Symbols carved into it showed directions to several towns, including the capital. Rowan stopped. Leora noticed. Is something wrong? No, he said. This is where I plan to turn. She followed his gaze. Toward the capital? Yes. She nodded slowly. You don't have to keep going with me. Rohan looked surprised. Why would you think that? You've already done more than enough, she said. You saved me. You stayed. You defended me. I can manage from here. Rowan studied her face. She was serious. Not pushing him away, but offering him a choice. I don't want to stop, he said. Her ears lifted slightly. Why? Because this road isn't just yours anymore, he replied. And neither is the decision. She looked away, blinking quickly. They chose a path that led away from the main trade road. It was quieter, rougher, but safer in its own way. Fewer patrols. Fewer crowds. That night, trouble found them again. They had just finished setting camp when voices rose nearby. A group of travelers argued loudly, their words sharp and angry. Rowan motioned for Lyra to stay close. The voices came nearer. One of the travelers noticed them and scoffed. Look at that, he said. Didn't know foxes needed guards now? Lyra stiffened. Rowan stood. Keep walking, he said calmly. The man stepped closer. Or what? Rowan didn't raise his voice. Or you'll regret stopping. For a moment, it looked like things would go badly. Then one of the others pulled the man back. Not worth it, she muttered. They moved on, their laughter fading into the dark. Lara's hands shook. I should be used to this, she said softly. Rowan shook his head. No one should be. She looked at him then, eyes steady, despite the fear. You always stand between me and them, Rowan answered honestly, because one day you won't need me to. She considered that. Slowly, she straightened her shoulders. The next morning, Liara surprised him. At a market town, Rowan went to trade supplies. When he returned, he found Liara speaking with a shopkeeper. Her voice was quiet but firm. She met the woman's eyes, did not look away. When Rowan approached, Liara finished the exchange and turned to him. I got a better price, she said. Rowan smiled. You did. Her tail flicked once, proud before she could stop herself. As they left the town, Rowan realized something important. Lara was changing. Not into someone loud or fearless, but into someone steady. Someone who chose when to step forward. And he was changing too. He was no longer just watching the road ahead. He was watching her growth, her choices, her strength. The kingdom tested them at every turn. But with each test, they learned when to speak, when to stand firm, and when to walk away. They were no longer just surviving the road. They were learning how to belong on it together. Stone towers rose in the distance, pale against the sky, their shapes softened by morning mist. Banners moved slowly in the wind. Even from far away, the city felt heavy with movement, noise, and rules. Rowan stopped walking without meaning to. Liara noticed right away. That's it, she said quietly. The capital, Rohan nodded. He had imagined this moment many times on past journeys. Reaching the city usually brought relief. Work, rest, an ending of sorts. This time, he felt none of that. They stood there longer than necessary, watching the road fill with other travelers. Carts rolled past. Messengers hurried by. No one paid them much attention now. The capital swallowed everyone the same way. Lyra shifted her weight. Her leg was almost healed. She no longer needed the stick, though she still carried it out of habit. You can leave me here, she said at last. I'll be fine. Rohan looked at her. She wasn't pushing him away. She was giving him space. You said once you didn't want to be alone, he said. She nodded. That's still true. But I don't want you to stay out of obligation. Rowan smiled slightly. Good, because I'm not. They began walking again, but slowly, as if neither wanted to reach the gates too soon. As they drew closer, Lara's steps faltered. Not from pain, but from something else. There are too many memories here, she said. Some good, many not. Rowan listened. We don't have to go in, he said. She looked surprised. But you were heading here. I was heading forward, he corrected. The city was just in the way. They stopped again, this time near a worn milestone. The stone was chipped, its markings faded by time and weather. It pointed in many directions, not just toward the capital. Liara touched the stone lightly. I don't know where I belong, she admitted. I've tried places. They never fit. Rowan leaned on the stone beside her. Most places don't, he said. Belonging isn't about the land. It's about who you share it with. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked, What will you do? Rowan looked down the road they had come from. He thought of the camps, the quiet nights, the shared meals, the small choices that had changed everything. I don't want to stop traveling, he said. And I don't want to travel alone. Lara's ears lifted. Not in shock, but in careful hope. They turned away from the capital. The road they chose was narrower, less traveled. It led through open fields and toward distant hills. No towers, no gates, just space. The first town they reached was small. No guards, no grand buildings. Just a market square and people living their lives. Rowan felt Lyra tense at first, then steady herself. She walked beside him, not behind. A woman at a fruit stand greeted them both. Lyra answered politely. Her voice did not shake. Later, a child stared openly at her ears. Lyra smiled back. The child smiled too. They stayed only one night. After that, the journey settled into something familiar and new at the same time. They traveled, worked where they could, moved on when it felt right. Some places welcomed them. Some didn't. They learned to read the signs early. Rowan noticed he no longer walked ahead automatically. Sometimes Leora chose the path. Sometimes she spoke first. Sometimes she stayed silent, and that was a choice too. One evening, as they camped near a river, Leora spoke again. "I used to think being strong meant being loud," she said, "or feared." Rowan stirred the fire. "And now? Now I think it means staying," she replied. "Even when it's easier to run," Rowan nodded. "That's the hardest kind." Seasons changed as they moved through the kingdom. Lyra's confidence grew in quiet ways. She learned trades. She bargained without apology. She laughed more often. Not loudly, honestly. Rowan changed too. He stopped measuring journeys by distance. He measured them by moments. A shared joke. A safe night. A choice made together. One night, under a sky full of stars, Lyra spoke the truth she had been carrying. "I don't know where this road ends," she said. Rowan looked at the fire, then at her. "Neither do I." She smiled. "That's all right." They sat in comfortable silence, the road behind them and ahead of them blending into one long story. They were no longer savior and saved. They were simply two travelers who chose every day to keep walking together.